Okay, so hi, my name is DaNae Estabine, and I'm the Government Relations Director for KU Student Senate.
Hi, and as was said, my name is Alessia Garcia. I am the Student Body Vice President for KU Student Senate, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. All right, so for Student Senate as an organization, just to talk about a little bit of what we do here on campus, we are the primary advocate for students on campus with student senators, student court officials, and 11 executive staff members that work together to amplify student voices, serve as an advisory and sounding board for new ideas being pursued by the university, and allocation of about $22 million in student fees in ways that best serve students. We also represent our student constituents within university, state, and national governance, working to address and develop policies that are in students' best interests, mainly relating to funding for research and accessibility in higher education.
Yes, and so we were asked to present here today at this conference because it was brought to us by the Center for Service Learning, kind of the idea of maybe trying to make election day as an official day off from classes and seeing what KU's Student Senate, what we could do to try and make that happen. And so first, starting with the plan is first we wanted to start with a survey to send out to the entire student body, because if this is something that the student body doesn't even want, then it's not something that we should pursue. So first we wanted to gauge students' interests on that. And then once we got that data, then take it to Student Senate, create a bill, present that to our Student Senate and vote on it, and then send it out to various groups and to campus. And then we would take it to the University Senate and discuss it with them. And then once we've done all that, our next step would be then taking all of this data from our survey and then what we did within the various senates in our university would then take it to the Student Advisory Committee. And the Students Advisory Committee consists of all the student government presidents from all the universities in the state of Kansas. And so we take it to them, and maybe if any of them are interested, try and starting it at their school. And then once we have data from all the various universities within Kansas, we would take it to KBOR and discuss it with them and seeing what this might look like. However, we weren't able to start going in all of these steps because in September, we had created a survey and we had sent it to be approved to be sent out, and we were denied approval. And then we tried again later in the semester and they still denied us. They just said that it wasn't the right time to have it sent out. So then we tried an alternative plan.
Yeah, and so for the alternative plan here, another avenue that we saw could be beneficial was excused absences and what qualifies as an excused absence for students. At the time, the University Senate was pursuing a new policy related to that to add tons of factors that faculty could utilize in terms of having a basis of what an excused absence would be considered for. And so Student Senate and our representatives ended up proposing an amendment to this legislation to make an election day an excused absence for instances of voting, poll working, or working for a campaign. This, unfortunately, in terms of an amendment to the legislation, it failed by about 1 or 2 votes once it was in the University Senate, and so it was unable to be passed also after our efforts to get that in there. However, Student Senate is still considering pursuing legislation once we can sort of form consensus with other members of the university governance structure to see if we can get this passed by the end of this year.
Right. So right now, going into the second semester, our plan is just to really try and get that survey out because we really need that data as a backing. And then also, if we see from the data that it's not something that students want, then we can just, drop it all together. But if it really is, then we can continue trying to do what we've been doing and having conversations. And that's the other thing that we're going to plan to do this semester is just continue to have conversations with university governance to try and find a consensus somewhere. And using data actually from the dayondemocracy.org, which is an organization that keeps track of universities trying to do this and encourages universities to do this. The states with the blue dots on them are states with universities within them that have successfully gained election day off from classes. And we, as you can see on the map, we are one of the states with the red dots where we have no universities in our state that have election day as an official day off from classes. But we can also see from this is that this is a growing opinion that a lot of students they want and are trying to pursue.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
elections are dependent on who's going to show up. Anything from student elections to local, state, and federal elections. We just need to make sure that people are having the opportunity to get their voices heard when it comes to election day.
And if you are interested in anything like this or anything within Student Senate, here is Alessia and I's information. If you'd like to contact either of us, or if you're interested in Student Senate at all, that we do a lot of different things in Student Senate. We work on a lot of different projects and initiatives. So here's the general information for that.
So first question for Melinda, how do you make sure that international students and Americans without documentation, et cetera, are fully included and engaged in this campaign and feel safe in engaging in this type of work? And I guess that's actually something that all of our panelists could speak to. How are you thinking about undocumented folks and international students in the work that you're trying to do?
DaNae, do you want to begin or should I?
Sure, I can.
Sure.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things, or like one of the biggest arguments when Alessia and I have been trying to advocate for making election day as an official day off from classes is some people have said like, but we have a lot of international students on our campus and this is taking a day of education away from them because like they won't be involved. But that's just simply not true because I mean, yes, there are international students who do plan to leave, but I also know a lot of international students who plan to stay in America and make America their like home after graduation. And so they can be included in the election day process. Even if they might not be able to vote on that day off, they can work at the polls. They can work for a campaign. Just because they're an international student doesn't mean that they're excluded from the American democratic process entirely.
Yeah, and to add to that, I would say similarly that like advocacy is not limited. People will have like issues that they want to talk about and like discuss in their broader communities. And even just discussion of those issues really helps to enable like an informed voter base at the end of the day on election day. And this has also been something we've looked at in how we pursue how we address like the election day excused absences, because we can have the election day off, and yes, that's going to affect everyone, and then no one is going to be attending class on that day. But as in particular, when we look at the excused absence policy, we're looking at students who will be going to the polls that day, who will be doing that. And so we found that that option, if we can get it passed, would also be least intrusive into like international students' educational opportunities when they aren't going to be interfering, or not interfering, but participating in those electoral processes.
Someone is wondering if there's anything that instructors or faculty can do to support your efforts this coming semester, whether that's once you do get the survey approved, promoting and distributing the survey, distributing information to their classes. What kinds of things can instructors and faculty do to be supportive of this process? As we know that, like Matt had alluded to, sometimes getting that information out through the wide university channels is challenging.
Hopefully we're able to get the survey approved, and if it is, then yes, just promoting that as much as possible, because another thing is it's more than just having the survey out there and having like 500 responses. They typically want about a 10% response rate. That goes for KBOR and a lot of like university senate things. Whenever we're talking about something that's going to impact the entire campus, they want at least a 10% participation in that survey. So just really advertising that survey and just telling students to just take the survey, because it's also, if I remember correctly, there's like 3 questions on it, and it's just like they don't have to type out anything, it's just selecting responses. So just taking 10 seconds to complete that would be great. Yeah, advocacy in that, and then also just having conversations with other professors or professors that you know who are on the university senate, because one of the biggest things when we were advocating for this in the University Senate meeting, and adding this to the bill as including anything involved with the election, one of the biggest things that the professors who were on the University Senate didn't like is that they were saying that students will just use it as an excuse and they won't actually be voting or being a poll worker or working for a campaign. They'll just like use it as an excuse, blah, 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 but really advocating that students are going to use this because it's what they're actually doing. And even saying that the professors can, if they need that to a picture for proof to show that they were at the office working on campaign or something like that, but just really advocating for us students as well, that like, we're going to be honest. The majority of students are going to be honest and use this for the purpose that it was given.